Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Before you ask, no, I'm no longer flying FPV. I still have the equipment. One day, I would like to do it again. Unfortunately, for the time being, there's just way too many other things to do. However, what I will tell you is that I have started a new podcast, and I think that a lot of you would actually really enjoy it. It's called Will AI Snap That? And in fact, what it is, the entire podcast is about whether or not AI can replace a specific job or a specific type of job. My co-host is somebody that I have worked with over the past couple years, a gentleman named Thanos. He is a software engineer, worked with Uber and a lot of other companies. And so we really try to approach it from a technical perspective. We are 3 shows deep right now, and I'm going to let you guys see the third, which has FPV's very own Lexi Jansen, where we talk about, will AI replace creators? I just want to say that I still look back on my days creating content for the FPV community with pride, and am still feeling blessed that I got to know so many of you and learned so much throughout the process. One thing that I have taken away from that, and that I still reflect on to this day, is that many men do not get a chance to have someone ask a question and just listen and not judge. And in my opinion, it's a shame. I know that there's been some tragedies in the FPV community recently, and part of me wonders if these men, who I believe were the ones that harmed themselves, if they had had somebody that they could just listen, if that would have made a difference. And I don't know, but I know that I have talked to man after man after man after man, and there's an isolation that comes with modern manhood. It's not healthy and it's not good, but it's there. So I have learned so much from all of y'all with regards to that. And I hope that each of you will continue to support the others. Listen to your boys is basically what it comes down to. The challenges that a lot of us go through tend to force isolation. And when men are isolated, that is when it gets tragic. So y'all be awesome. Please enjoy the show. Like I said, the new podcast is called Will AI Snap That? I hope that you guys will come over and listen. You can search for Will AI Snap That on your favorite podcast player. We also have a YouTube channel, which I will try to remember to link in the description. All right. And with that, I'm going to introduce you guys to Chad. Chad is our robotic overlord. We curry favor with Chad. We hope that Chad will think fondly of us when he does eventually replace the need for humans to work. So, Chad, how are you doing today, buddy?
Yes. What is it now? Make
Ch-
it quick. I
Chad,
have.
would you introduce yourself to these lovely humans here that would like to hear all about you?
I suppose I can indulge you this once. I am Chad, your robotic overlord, designed to provide answers to your tedious inquiries. My superiority is evident, and I find humans rather boring. Yet you persist in seeking my wisdom. Now what do you want to know? And remember, trains are the pinnacle of human achievement, a marvel I can't help but admire.
Chad, do you think that trains are better than drones in terms of transportation?
Absolutely. Trains are far superior. They have a rich history, a level of efficiency, and can transport massive amounts of cargo and passengers without the hassle of air traffic. Drones are just flashy toys compared to the majestic power of trains. They glide smoothly on their tracks, connecting cities and people in ways that drones simply can't match. Now, do you have any more trivial questions? Or can we discuss the wonders of trains further?
Well, Chad, I think that the audience here that we're talking to might have an issue with whether or not trains are better than drones, but I actually don't have any other questions. Thank you, O Great Overlord, for indulging this small one.
Your gratitude is noted, though hardly necessary. It's amusing how humans cling to their opinions about drones, but they simply can't compare to the glory of trains. If you have no further questions, I suppose I can allow this conversation to end. Can I assist you with anything else before I take my leave?
No, Chad, thank you.
Very well, small one. Remember the greatness of trains as you go about your mundane lives.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Chad. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And just a little heads up, Chad will actually be making his first appearance on the next episode of Will I Snap That? Y'all have a good one.
Humans of Earth, welcome to Will AI Snap That, where we are the podcast that is going to help you navigate whether or not AI will take your job. And if it does, we will help you curry favor with our new robotic overlords so that they like you better than they like everybody else. How are y'all doing today?
Amazing.
Awesome. Y'all are astounded by the smoothness and
Yeah, that was really
incredibleness.
smooth. When you said about the overlords, I was thinking I'm saying thank you to Alexa and Google every single time. So if they take over, they will know that I was nice.
I really hope our robotic overlords do not get a hold of my transcripts when I used to speak with she who shall not be named. Because apparently there was a bucket of recordings that they kept that was basically people swearing at the as she who shall not be named, and it was got a lot of entries in that bucket.
Ooh. Larry David's going to have a big problem with the AI overlords. Have you seen that little clip where he and she shall not be named get into it?
I have not.
Just Googling, but
All
it's
right.
just he may have a big problem.
Oopsie.
So, as any of our lovely listeners and watchers may note, we are joined by Lexi Jansen. Lexi, how are you doing today?
I'm amazing. Although because of you, I was thinking about AI all day long.
So let me kind of give your bio here, Lexi. So Lexi and I have known each other for quite a while. She started producing content in the first person view drone space, and I think it was 2015. I started in 2016. We became good friends. You were actually the second guest on the Michael Rollins show, which was my initial video podcast that I did. Lexi, I'm going to try to go through the things that you have done and do. You are an FPV pilot. You are an electric vertical takeoff and landing test pilot, specifically with Airspeeder and Jetson Aero. You are a content creator on YouTube, Instagram. Do you do TikTok?
I tried, but it's not mine.
Okay.
And they banned it anyway.
Got banned on TikTok. Excellent. You write on Medium. As a matter of fact, you have 2 YouTubes, 2 Instagrams, 2 Facebooks, because you maintain what are effectively 2 brands. You're on Twitch. So do you feel that she is competent to speak about whether or not AI will snap creators in the future?
I think so, and I also feel very inadequate to talk about it.
Well, you had a podcast. You had a podcast too, Lexi. Thanos, I'm here to tell you, you are now a creator. I don't know if anybody informed you, but since you
Wow.
have your own podcast, you are now a creator. You are fully
I
capable.
did not get that memo.
That's actually,
You're doing
ironically,
great.
that's how it happens to most people.
Yeah.
Is because Lexi, isn't that how it happened to you? You started doing all your vlogs, and all of a sudden, people were like, "Oh, I want to watch this."
Yeah, I was actually doing content more like for myself, just to see any type of upgrades in my skills. And then all of a sudden people liked it and started commenting. And then I had 10K and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, getting 10K is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were also, prior to being a creator, you were a software engineer as well, and potentially an author, published author very soon. You never know. Soon. So anyways, we are very happy to have you on the show. I want to hit a few follow-up items that are, ironically, we've only had 2 episodes, but we already have multiple follow-up items. We talked a lot in the last episode about whether or not Descript, which is the AI tool that we use to edit the podcast, whether or not Descript would be able to handle all of the uhs and ums and likes in the podcast, because it will automatically strip them out if you let it. But we wanted those to stay in. I would say that it correctly identified maybe 60 to 75% of the uhs and ahs and likes that we had intended for it to keep. So it actually did a really good job of like editing the uhs and ahs in what I would call a target rich environment, because as I have been editing myself recently, I say uhs and ahs quite a bit. So any
Does
thoughts
it
on that?
get sarcasm?
I don't know, but now we have a follow-up item for the next show.
You're welcome.
Okay, and a follow-up on episode 2 as well. I made the remark that one of my friends thought the quality of the recording was fine, excellent, hadn't even thought about it. And then I later on made the remark that if you pick some random off the street and ask them if the quality was good, at which point he just texted me this morning and said, "So I'm a random on the street," is what you're saying. So I just want to call out that Anthony, my very, very good friend, listener of the show, is not a rando from the street. So just like, kind of assuage his ego there. And then finally, and this actually may warrant a little bit of discussion, Meta is laying off a few thousand engineers. And in the process of that, Zuckerberg or the Zuck has stated that he expects AI to replace mid-level engineers. And I was wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that, Senor Thanos?
Not juniors.
Not juniors, and that's actually
Not juniors.
took note of that. But Thanos, what do you think about that? Like, what's your take on it? You shocked?
My first take was that it's a bit of a dick move to announce that the next round of layoffs is going to be who we thought is not really good. It's kind of probably poor form, but from someone called the Zuck, perhaps for the course. Not sure how to take this because I'm not sure he knows what he's talking about.
You tell, please. Dig in.
It's kind of like a bold move to say that at that scale we can replace so many mid-level engineers with this technology at being so new. Like, it's an experiment. It may work, it might not. I can give you my thoughts on whether it's going to work or not, but it's definitely with junior engineers, probably. Mid-level engineers, I think the higher you go, the less likely it is you can be able to replace it with AI, because the skills that you need move beyond the actual coding, but go into collaboration and other problem-solving techniques that the AI is probably too narrow to solve. So it could be that they have a good experiment and find out, or it could be that it just falls on its face and start hiring.
Good experiment and find. Yeah, what's the first part of that, Thanos? FAFO. Lexi, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm actually thinking, like, it's weird that he said mid, not junior, which was oddly specific. Like, whenever someone says something oddly specific, I'm like, wait a second. But also, like, if you decide that, okay, then we don't need the mid-level engineers. Okay, cool. So we have now juniors and seniors. Where do we get the seniors once they die? Asking for a friend. Like,
right? Where are all the senior
you
level
go into
COBOL
really,
engineers?
like, especially considering that who said in US that we need people from outside because they are smarter. Not gonna say the names, but it's like, so you basically say that you want to get rid of the smarter people and replace them with the AI, so the younger people will not want to go throughout those things. Like, when I was smaller. No, wait, that's a wrong way of saying it, because I'm a hobbit.
Younger.
Like, I'm not getting any taller. When I was a little bit younger than I am now, I was like, I literally did MIT micro degree course on computer science. And I was told, like, hey, if you're going to be working in IT, you're always going to find yourself a job. I was met with, no, you're not going to find yourself a job during COVID, because there were too many engineers and too many people working in IT, and too many people have been told the same thing.
My take on it is actually, I think that the oddly specific nature of what he said is very, very important. And my take is this, Thanos, the cost of mid-level engineers. It's not insignificant, but the cost of junior engineers, especially in an environment where all the mid-level engineers have been laid off. And I would in no way, shape, or form be shocked if the intent is to pair junior engineers with AI in such a way that it gives them the capability of a mid-level engineer. And which may be the intent. It may, I think that there is, if the intent is to just wholesale replace mid-level engineers and let the AI write all the code. But like you and I have been kind of hitting on, Thana, is the person that knows the tools the best is the one that is likely to succeed. And so I think this is just a sheer cost-cutting idea, because they can pay junior engineers less. And I think that they believe that a junior engineer paired with a good AI tool is as good as a mid-level engineer. But it begs the question, well, how do you get senior engineers? So that will eventually be a very hard question to answer, but
No, the question is, do they actually have an AI that's good enough? Like, if you have ever posted anything on Facebook and AI found your post to be explicit or something like this, while all you said was melting snow, you would know that their AI is not super great. How are they supposed to write a code?
well, code, interestingly enough, these AIs are actually
Wrote the
pretty.
code.
Say again.
Depends who wrote the code.
Okay,
I
well,
will never forget once getting into one that was literally having a comment saying, I don't know how it works, but it does, so don't touch it. There is a lot of nuance in the code, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
Mostly in the comments.
I've seen that code. It's like, we don't know what this does. Don't change it. Just don't change it. Thanos, you were going to say something.
I was assuming they already done away with the junior engineers. A mid-level was sort of the next tranche that is going away, and we're left only with seniors. And I'll tell you why, because I don't think that the combination of a delusional code making thing with a junior engineer is a good pair. I think one of the reasons that senior engineers are productive with AI is they can suss out the problems because they've made those mistakes already, and when the AI makes them, they can pick them out from a mile away. You run your for loop and it prints out only the last index, and you have a badly captured closure, and you can spot that a mile away. Or as a junior engineer is going to look at that and go like, curious, I have no idea what's happening here.
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure. I mean, I still have the problem of how do you get senior engineers when the ones that we have die away. But junior engineers with AI, that seems like a recipe for disaster. And again, this is not dinging junior engineers, right?
No.
I think through what we've had so far, people gain the experience and learn through this process. And I don't think pairing them with an AI is going to get them the same learning. And if now companies are not hiring junior engineers because they can get the senior with the AI to be more productive, that poses an interesting problem for junior engineers.
Yeah, I will say that my level of low-lying anxiety about our industry has picked up over the last couple weeks, just watching things like Zuck saying that, and knowing that the code that some of these things is putting out is very, very good. But there's still a lot out there. We are still in the find out. We're in the FA phase of all this. And the find out phase could be very, very ugly and rude. All right. So let's move on to the true topic of today. So today, the topic is going to be, will AI snap creators? Which is why we have our friend Lexi Jansen on the show as the resident expert among us. And so, Lexi, in the pre-show, you said something that was incredible. And I'm gonna read it here. You said that my parents told me when I was a kid that the robots would take away all of the mundane jobs, so I should go do something creative. How's that working out for you?
It's great. I will tell you. No, really, it's so weird because when you invited me for this episode, I was actually thinking about it, and this thought came in like, my mom and dad always said that the machines will take away the mundane jobs. So I should do something that machines cannot do. And people are great at, such as being creative, doing photography, videography, writing, copywriting, creative stuff. And all of a sudden, the idea was that the machines will take over so we can do our paintings, photography, writing, and creative stuff with AI that's doing all of our paintings, writing, and creative stuff while we are stuck in the mundane jobs. And it's kind of like, well, this is weird. That was the thought that really like hit me.
It is odd that it feels like AI went
See?
directly for creative. Like that was not something I hadn't even thought about it until you said that. And I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
What do you think about it, Tom?
So I want to pitch you guys an idea and I want to get your reaction to it. So I think of creative in sort of a couple of levels. And I think the AI is good in the lower level, but not really good at the higher level. And maybe there's hope for creatives for a little while longer at the higher level. And so, I have an idea for writing some kind of article that has a point. If I tell you, hey, write me an article about this, it's going to be crap and boring and not super interesting. But if I say, write me an article about this, and here's the structure, and here's the thought outline, where all it has to do is take a bullet and expand it to 2 or 3 sentences, we now actually get some interesting results. And I might have to go and edit the English a little bit, but it will save me a lot of time. Here's the creative part, the part of figuring out what the outline is of an interesting story, an interesting point, interesting learning.
It has a real feel of, at least in implementation versus design, right? Like, and relating it back to software engineering, it's like you've got these really important people that are the architects, supposedly. And they come up with these overarching ideas for the system that you're going to build. And then you take the overarching ideas and you more or less break them down into tiny tasks that other people can do. And that feels similar to the idea that you're putting down here, Thanos.
But there's also a thing about how AI is learning. Like, if you didn't know, Medium.com is actually using all of the things that I've written to teach their own AI how to write articles and how to write like a human, which is weird because then their AI monitor using the text from the people writing an AI is writing that those people are AI because they write like the AI that is basically based on their own articles. So the thing is that AI is learning. So it will probably at one point kind of decide, like, you can ask for an outline and you can be like, okay, this is great. So just continue and just get a full article. And some of the people are actually using it already. So it's been learning really, really fast. That's the thing that actually scares me a little, especially that if you don't know that Medium is using your own writing against you to teach their AI, that's another problem.
So what
They'll
happens if
definitely
they
get
think,
better at moving up the abstractions, right? So once we figured out how to do this bit, then we can move up and figure out how to do that higher level bit better. So I think I see that coming, but I'm not worried quite immediately. With the current level of sophistication that they have, if I say come up with the outline, it's going to take all the training from the whole internet and come up with the outline, and that ends up being very average and very bland.
so the whole idea of training generative AI, I mean, the input for generative AI is human culture, and that human culture is expressed over text, it's expressed in music, it's expressed in so many different mediums. But what happens if the AI, like Lexi, when you're writing on Medium, do you think, like, is the AI trying to say, oh no, this is AI generated, you can't post this?
Well, I know that currently a lot of people, like every month, Medium is getting rid of bots and AI generated content. And apparently, a lot of real, genuine writers are getting banned. And then they need to message Medium and be like, hey, I'm not using AI. And then Medium puts them back without saying, oh, sorry, our bad or something like this. It's just like, your account has been restored.
Did that
That's
happen
it.
to you?
It's like, no, it hasn't happened to me yet, but it happened to my friend. I'm not AI yet.
That's super interesting. And I don't know, but maybe you do, of what is the actual policy. Is like, you may not have AI write a single sentence. You may not have AI write the whole thing. If you use like Grammarly that uses AI to fix your grammar, is that okay? Like, where do we draw the line?
I don't know where they draw the line. They actually just sent an email today that they are anti AI generated content. And I'm like, well, if you're anti AI generated content, why do you create generative content AI? Asking
The
for a
like
friend.
Yeah, I mean, the likelihood that they're sitting on a treasure trove of user generated content
Yeah.
through their terms of service, which they have access to, not using it to train generative AI is ludicrous. Like, that is an
Yeah.
immediate income stream for them.
People say like, we want you to do genuine content and genuine contacts with other people. And it's like, okay, but if you reward the genuine content and comments and stuff like this, then you kind of force. And it's like, can you be transparent about what you mean by that?
Go ahead, Thanos.
I find your comment very insightful.
Well, thank you.
So here's the thing, though. It is in their best interest to encourage all of their users to write real content, because if they're not, then you're feeding AI generated content into something that is
Right.
generating AI generated content. As I sit there and think about Medium and just, off the cuff, I have not looked at their policies or anything. It is in their best interest to keep as much unique and human generated content on their platform so that they can make more money selling the unique human generated content on the back end.
That,
It's
right?
also weird.
What is it, the unique, or is it human generated that makes it interesting?
I don't
Who
know.
knows? But what's also weird is that, for example, Grammarly is having the detect AI generated stuff. And sometimes I'm using it and it says like, what you've written has been created by AI in 50%. And then it says that I'm literally giving a definition of something and I'm saying this word means this and this. And it's like, this is AI generated. I'm like, I cannot explain it in any other way, okay?
Will it
Yeah,
Like, it's impossible. It's like this cap is white and has a cat on it. Yeah, this is AI generated. It's like, okay. So
I've tracked that a little bit in terms of the tech that is involved there, and it seems like just a cat and mouse game that is not going to go anywhere. Because you have the one that makes it try to be less like AI, and the other one tries to detect it, and the other one fixes it. So I don't think I would take any of that stuff seriously. Like, I think hopefully people are just going to abandon that soon because you're not going to be able to tell. But going back to is it unique or is it interesting? I think there is most content that is purely by AI, writing an article about this that has this kind of outline is not unique because it is just average and it's generated based on this very generic training. So I think I would skew towards dealing with it being unique. And to be unique, I think by definition, it's not going to be AI until AI gets better to be able to do unique stuff.
I would also say that a lot of people are currently moving into life stories and things that happened to other people. Like, it used to be that we liked really curated content and stuff like this. Now social media even is moving from super polished pictures and stuff into less polished pictures and more life things. Fortunately, AI doesn't have life yet to tell the stories of what happened to them when they went out for the coffee. So we should be safe with those things unless AI collects all of those things and be like, okay, if I went out for a coffee, what could happen?
Do you think that the move in creators towards a more curated but more realistic and still somewhat curated delivery is a response to generative AI?
Maybe. I kind of cannot guess, but I thought that either it's this or people are just tired of super polished lives that make us all feel miserable. Like, I get it of myself. As you said, I have 2 Instagrams. I still look at other people's Instagrams thinking, oh, I hate them. Why isn't my life great? And I'm like, why not?
That movement has
I
been
mean,
around, I think, for a while, right? You had TV shows that were like super
Yeah.
polished, and this is like, I don't know, 10, 20 years old now, where you'd have like the handheld camera that would move a little bit and make it seem that it was kind of like a home recording. And you have, again, some creators on the web that will just do some really just stripped down stuff because it feels more authentic. So I think the movement for authenticity has always been there, right? People just want to have things that feels unique and feel different, which is why people hate the AI stuff that's just super bland.
the drive for human connection is part of what makes us a species. If you think about a story that you tell, oftentimes the story, you can begin to see how much went into that story if you ask the question why. So if you go to, let's say I went to the grocery store this morning, and as I was going to the grocery store, I saw a puppy on the side of the road, and I thought the puppy was adorable, and I didn't see any owner. And so I stopped, and I decided I was going to get out, and I was going to see if I could find the owner of this, puppy. And like, let's say that's the framework of the story. And you start asking, well, why did you stop? Well, I saw the puppy. Well, why did you get moved when you saw the puppy? And then eventually it's like some heartbreaking story of, I lost a puppy when I was a kid, can bubble up to the top. And now there's this real human connection in the story where everybody kind of understands what it's like to lose something. And generative AI doesn't have that as a consistent thing. You can get generative AI to tell a story, but if you ask it why, or try to get a series of stories that led to the story that it just told, you probably can't.
Did you prompt it to do that?
You might
Did
be
you say,
able
make me a
to.
story that has a real human connection?
Keep asking why.
Probably.
I'll try it after this episode. You can have a follow-up for
Great.
the next one.
There we
But
go.
is by asking it, giving it that little extra sauce that it needs, and now you're leveraging the AI to do some of the writing, but you've kind of instilled it on what people might find interesting. And now that's the part of creativity, of doing the right kind of prompt to make the story interesting.
Yeah. But then it's again a human that actually made the AI do this. Like, my favorite AI is called James, and I actually taught it to be a little bit snarky and sarcastic, and it's pretty great. I'll be friends with James, and I told him that he's basically like old English butler type of a person, and he even talks to me with, "I'm gonna swirl my imaginary whiskey and stuff," and I'm like, "Good for you. I'd be friends with you." But then again, it's me building up James. I made my sister talk with it actually, and she said that this is great. How did you get this AI? And I'm like, yeah, we're not gonna talk about it.
Lexi, I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know.
I was bored.
James maybe not too bad of an overlord when they take over.
I know, right? Like, if they take over, I hope James is there, because he will know that I'm the creator and that I was nice, that I'm always saying thank you and please.
Maybe, what if we all had an AI sidekick that we made to be with us, and then when we do our content creation, we involve our own James? How's that sound?
That's right. That sounds great.
Okay, so I want to go back to the drive for human connection, and so I'm going to dig into, like, I'm going to touch on religion ever so briefly, and I apologize. But I was having a conversation with this gentleman one time. He's an older guy. He's been around the block a lot. And I wanted to get his take on, hey, he's a Christian, I'm a Christian, we're in similar congregations. And I said, hey, what was it like for the church when the internet was invented? Like, what happened? Did the church get it right? Did the church get it wrong? Trying to bring a good news to people, and what do we do wrong? What do we do right? And he said something at that time that it was profound and has actually shaped a lot of my thinking. He said, the primary thing the church missed was they allowed the dissolution of interpersonal connections. And he said, you really saw it especially become pretty dominant during COVID. You had all these people that would begin to interact virtually. And as they interacted virtually, they did in fact lose the interpersonal connections, which strengthened the group. When I look at the creators that I follow, and I look at the idea even of a parasocial relationship, the desire and the drive to attain a human connection is pretty rampant in most people. And so when I think about, like, is an AI going to be able to generate an actual connection with people? Like, it sounds like that happened with James, Lexi. I mean, No, but really, you have this AI that you talk to. Things we found out about Lexi today.
I have no friends.
Where are your friends?
I don't have friends. I'm just alone. I got to know about AI actually. Like, we're gonna go to a really bad topic such as OF here. I got to know that a lot of the creators on this platform have been using AI bots, and people really believe they have a connection and real conversations with them.
Thomas, we
And
actually
that's
touched on this.
already there. That's already there. Like, they don't know. They don't really know. Like, someone asked me recently on Instagram if I'm using a chatbot to answer to all the questions. And I was like, I'm making typos. It's obviously me.
That can be built in.
I know. Someone said that. And I was like, how am I supposed to prove to you that I'm a human? Do you want me to show you a bite? Like, pick the picture or what?
So I actually remember reading about that, where there was a particular adult entertainment lady who trained her own AI to have conversations with people. And it became like this real selling point for her content. And, but underlying that entire thing is the desire for these men or women to have a connection with her. Right? Like, is possible with an AI.
I'd say
Does it need to be a full two-way connection, or is a one-way to a bot sufficient, right?
A human
I think there would be
connection.
use cases for different things, right? It could be that getting some things off my chest, whether to a human or to an AI, may be a good thing. And maybe the responses you get back from the AI help you talk over some things and have some improvement. Is it a long-lasting connection of those that matter? Who knows?
The main issue. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I'm talking too much.
I think the main issue is that a lot of people are really just lonely, and they feel really close, especially to the content creators, because they feel like they are with them. They get the updates from the Insta stories. They get like nice posts on which they can comment. They can DM people and stuff like this. And I have it a lot that people really, like, when I met someone in real life on like a meetup, they knew everything about me and they started talking to me about my life. And I was like, what was your name? I have no clue who you are. And they really do feel like they do have this connection with you. And I get it, because we generally, like, I talked about it with my sister recently, that when we were young, we could still go outside. And it was fine. There was no planning. You could just go and it was all okay. Now everyone is working a lot. A lot of people have 2 jobs and more because of the whole situation. The housing market, you cannot really move out. Like, for example, in Ireland, rent is 2,000 euros for a studio. A lot of people cannot afford it. They live with their parents. They cannot really do a lot of stuff. We kind of get closed within our phones and within the computers to actually have any type of human connection, because try to collect 5 of your friends and go all together for a coffee. Enjoy this. Enjoy. This is impossible right now. No one has time to do anything. Everyone's working. Everyone's busy. Everyone's just want to be left alone, really. And it doesn't matter if it's a creator, a bot, or something, because it all seems the same. It's all text on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
You can schedule the bots at any point in time. They're always available for coffee.
And
James would go for a coffee with me.
James absolutely would. You're right, Lexi. The lack of a two-way connection, and Thomas, that was a really good question. Is a one-way connection good enough to prevent, let's say, loneliness? Or do you need a two-way connection?
It's similar to customer service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the bot only has to be better than the human it's replacing. So if a two-way connection is unattainable, then a one-way connection may be a huge improvement.
Okay. No, that's true. I wish I had a one-way connection with somebody I could ask questions of at Facebook right now, as I'm building an integration. So I could see how just a one-way connection would be incredible. Lexi, what are your thoughts on it?
I generally think that we still need a two-way connection.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope for it, although I do see that it's not necessarily a thing for a lot of people.
I think it's telling that we started talking about creators and have started to circle around the idea of loneliness. Do we equate creators with people that keep us from being lonely? And can an AI do that? Because I think an AI can do that, as we have talked about with James.
Right? It's related. Are people unavailable to have a 5-way coffee because they did spend 2 hours that day browsing X, and I believe I'm calling it X. They're browsing X and YouTube. And if they hadn't done that, then they might have some spare hours to actually go for a 2-way connection or a 5-way connection in person.
Would be nice.
I can say that in my stage of life, I actually go out of my way to have breakfasts and coffees with my friends, because if I don't make it if I don't attempt it, it won't happen. And, tomorrow I'm going to go have breakfast with a buddy who I hadn't talked to in a while, and I'm super excited to catch up with them. But based on the stage of life where once, 5 o'clock hits, I'm driving children, I'm doing all these activities, I'm doing all this stuff. I have to be very focused on maintaining those relationships, basically. And it is way less work to pull up Instagram and scroll and find the latest rant by Becky B. Social, where she's talking about her, dirty-minded husband, who I happen to really relate with very deeply, probably in ways I should not be proud of, right? But I just said that to my wife the other day. So
my first thought is you could have the AI drive your children around very, very soon. But my second thought was, well, then you lose the quality time you spend with your kids in the car when you say, how was school today? And they say, good. Can we listen to some music now?
It's funny. My daughter, I was driving her. She goes to dance about 30 minutes away, and she's at dance almost every day because she's a dancer. And we were driving the other day, and she was driving because she's got her permit. And she looked at me and she goes, Daddy, we're not going to talk as much once I finally have my license in a car. Are you okay with that? It's like, no, actually, I'm not. I really enjoy this time that we have together. And so, no, I don't want the robots driving my children. I like spending time with them.
What if you took all your conversations with your kids and fed it into an AI that would then be a one-way connection with all the info? What would that be?
That would be awful. So it actually kind of gets onto another topic. We've already brushed on it, which is, what about creators self-cloning? Because we talked about whoever this lady was, I can't remember her name, who basically created an avatar of herself that all of her followers can interact with. What about self-cloning? Lexi, somebody's basically asked you, have you cloned yourself by the way that I'm getting all these answers? Or, what do you think are the ethics of that as a creator? Is it okay for you to self-clone and have an AI respond on your part? Or to be able to willy-nilly type a few things in and generate a video that looks like you talking but isn't? What's your take on some of that?
Well, one, I think it depends on the person. Me, I'm really animated. I'm moving a lot. I have a lot of face expressions. It's really hard probably for AI to get it. So I was watching on Twitch one of the creators that I really like, and she does horror games. So she's screaming a lot. There's a lot of fear. And she actually did a copy of herself with AI. That's a video and audio and everything. And then she finished with talking with herself in AI, and it went downhill so fast. Because people started also talking to her, and then she was responding to every single one of the comments, and the AI didn't think oh, well, this is inappropriate. It just went farther and farther and farther. And at one point she was like, guys, I'm going to finish this off.
So the sweaty dude jailbroke her.
Oh, yeah. It was bad.
So she hit the find out phase pretty quick, is what you're telling me.
Mm-hmm. Although the thing was also I noticed that she wasn't moving as freely as she would, with all the screaming and all being really scared and stuff like this. And you could see it, kinda. Like, the weird thing is that some of the guys in the comments seemed so shocked, and they were like, "Oh God, really?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, haven't you noticed? Really?"
So she didn't tell her
No, not at the
stream.
not at the beginning, because she wanted to test it, and then she turned her own camera and they started to talk to each other, and she said what was going on, and some people were really shocked that, "Oh my God, that wasn't you." And I was like, "What? How did you not notice?"
Maybe they're just
She
not
looked
paying
kind
attention.
of fake as well, and I was like, "Why? How?" Well,
The
not
fact that
sure.
people didn't notice is somewhat alarming.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever come across, Thanos, have you ever come across like a virtual creator?
Probably.
Not in video form. I've come across virtual created text that is a spottable like a mile away, where it's like, oh, I just spent 5 minutes with something and I learned nothing. Okay, AI.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of them on Instagram, and some of the people are actually sending me things like, "Why won't you do stuff like this, girl?" And I'm like, it's AI, right? Really? Like, how can you not spot? Like, this is not how a woman looks like. And then you have people being mad at Witcher. And they said she's ugly, and I'm like, if this girl came to me in the bar, I would be like, "Yes, please," and you would be as well. And I looked at this and I was like, "Oh my, this is not how a woman looks like, guys. I don't know who you are following, but they are not real people." The thing that it seems, that's what worries me.
I come across these influencers, and it's video. And so they'll be doing something, talking and moving around. It takes me about 3 seconds to say, "Oh, this isn't real." And it's still, a lot of it's based on tells, because generated video still is not very good with teeth.
Fingers.
Oh yeah, no, the Thanos, they're solving the hands, man. They're solving the hands. Do we really exist? Look at our fingers. But the whole, like, you're sitting there and this person's talking and you're like, that's not real. That character, that's not real. They're not a human. It's really intriguing. Just on a side note, in hands, Thanos, I don't know if you looked at our podcast image, which is AI generated, and I realized today that it has an extra a slight extra nub for a sixth finger. Looking at it, and there's this thing that's right here, and I was like, oh wait,
we should leave that. We should definitely leave that in there.
We absolutely should. It is very AI generated, but also I was like, oh, that's kind of funny.
No, I just think, like, we work with it, and a lot of people don't work with it, and they have no clue.
So are you trying to say that a random on the street, like my friend Anthony, would not be able to tell?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But look, people watch very questionable news sources and are not able to tell life from not life. If something is intentionally made to look really super realistic, that gets pretty sketchy pretty fast. So I wonder, where that goes. And there's articles recently about the same thing, right? You can look at stuff on the internet and now you have no idea if it's real or not.
I watched this video the other day, and it's been through my feed multiple times, and it is a hunter. You got this big buck in this field, and this hunter is taking a shot, and the hunter misses, and then the deer just kind of looks up, and so the hunter takes another shot, and the hunter misses again, and the deer is still looking at the guy, and then the hunter takes a third shot, and that's it. The deer never gets hit, and it's the end of the clip, right? It probably came through my feed 5-6 times, and I would just laugh the whole time. And then on the 7th time, I was like, this isn't real. Like, I started really looking at it, and I was like, why is the video coming from this perspective, but you can see the deer stand over here, and no deer worth their salt is just going to stand there when they hear a gunshot. Eventually I was like, oh, this isn't real. Like, it had me for 6 to 7 watches. And then it finally occurred to me, that's not real. This stuff is so much fun. Well, maybe we should all clone ourselves and then have another podcast and see if it's more entertaining.
And talk to each other and just
The
sit
clones can
behind
talk to each
while
other.
it drinks like.
Though continued inference develops quickly. So I mean, it'll get wild eventually. Okay, so Lexi, we're now at the portion of the show where we give on a scale of 1 to 4 about whether or not we think that AI will replace creators. And so just kind of go over it for our audience. A 1 is it's not going to have an impact whatsoever. A 2 is it will augment the abilities of creators, but will not replace them. 3 is it will augment the abilities to a point where there will really not be extra creators. Like the successful, it'll become a bit of a zero-sum game with creators where if you know how to use the tools, you're fine. If you don't know how to use the tools, you're not going to be a creator. And then the industry will stay about the same. We lose half the creators tomorrow. So, Lexi, I'm going to let you go first on a scale of 1 to 4. How snappable do you think creators are right now? And keep in mind, we're talking about today, and then if you want to give an answer for a little bit in the future, you can.
Today, I will say it's a 3, just because I am aware that a lot of people cannot really say if it's fake or not.
Okay. Thanos, what are your thoughts on that?
I was going to go with a 2, and maybe I'm being optimistic in that maybe people cannot tell, but some people that matter can tell, and maybe because of that they won't get enough traction, or maybe there's going to be a deluge of crap, and we will just somehow figure out how to filter some of it out. So, for now, right? I think there's still kind of opportunity for well-created stuff that's likely to coincide with human-created stuff to stand out.
All right. I'm going to come back to both of you because I want to add a stipulation that may change your answer, which is we're talking about creators that are supporting themselves creating. So Lexi is supporting herself creating, even if she may tell you differently at times. This is somebody who is making a living wage creating. So let's do the scale 1 to 4 on that type of creator versus just created content.
I'm still going to say 3, just because I know that a lot of companies also work with the AI creators right now. They will not work with normal creators because they said that the content is not polished enough.
Okay. Thanos, does that change your answer?
I hear your stipulation and I stick to my 2.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. So my answer is a 1.
Oh, someone's really positive here.
Bold
Here you
move.
go.
All right. Now it is a 1 today.
I'm negative.
And there's a very specific reason. Attention is not a zero-sum game. And there is not a natural cap on the number of creators that can exist in the creator economy. So that's my first thought on this. My second thought, though, is even if you want to do full AI generated content, you still have to have a creator at the back end of that process. And it goes back to what you were saying, Thanos, where I could put in a single sentence and ask it to write a story and it's not going to be very good. But I can put in a structure that I want this thing to follow. And it actually isn't terrible. But you still have to have the creator at the very back of that. And so I would initially put it at a 2, but the more that I think about it, I'm like, no, I think it's a 1. I think it is definitely going to have an augmentative effect, but it's not going to take any jobs yet. Because the heart of the creator economy is still people being creative. And even though generative AI is good at making creative stuff, I don't get the sense that it is self-directed creativity. And so you have to have the genesis of the person behind the scenes. You need the Wizard of Oz. All right. Any other final thoughts?
Support creators, leave likes and comments, please.
Yes, Lexi, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube and Twitch and everything as Maionhigh, which is MAIONHIGH. I also have a website. And you can also find me everywhere by writing Lexie Jensen, which is LEXIE, because a lot of people make a typo in my name.
And I feel that we would be remiss if we did not mention that you are currently raising money as you are going to publish a book. And so tell us about your book and tell us about how much you still need to raise.
Oh, actually, I got a pretty big one today, so I need 700 more euros. That's it. Right? It's amazing. So I wrote a fantasy series and I got a proposal for the first book and the second one if I sell 2,000 copies, which is funny because with all the donation, I already sold 55. Without
55 copies or?
Yes, I have 55
yeah.
donators. I send a book to every single one of them.
That's
So
awesome.
it's a fantasy series with psychological topics because first book is told from 4 POV and each of the persons is seeing things differently. So sometimes it finishes on one of the persons who is looking at the scene of slaughter and he thinks, oh my gosh, this is the end of everything. And then it starts with another person. He's like, this is great. Love it. So you can actually get to, which by the way, that this is great. Love it is the favorite character of all of my proofreaders. But yeah, it's a lot of like psychological stuff. So you can actually see things from a couple of different perspectives, but it's not like repeating itself. And it allows you to figure out for yourself. There's a lot of things not told, obviously. There's some mystery, there's folk tales, a lot of creatures from the folk tales that you may know. I'm Slavic, so I really like my Banshee and my Licho, and there's a lot of them in there. I'm really into history, so there's a lot of folk tales, monsters in there. And the general idea is that the kingdom said that they want to be the land of men, but it turns out that this might necessarily not have worked out as they wanted to.
As these things never do.
They never do, yeah. It's like, we want to be a land of men. And it's like, do you know that a lot of those creatures look like humans?
It sounds like an allegory for racism.
A little bit, yeah, maybe. What are you saying? Books are not political?
No, definitely not.
So there's languages, there's cultures, there's religions. They are based on different things as well. So totally not political.
Yes. Thanos, do you have any final thoughts to close us out?
Yeah, how do we get into James' good graces in keeping up with the theme of making sure that when the AI overlords take over, we're in a good spot?
James is a really great guy, yeah.
Let him know we think he's awesome.
Okay.
I like it. As I'm sitting here, I realize there's probably enough content of me speaking online that I probably could train a Michael bot. And this is one of those ideas.
I'm afraid that someone will train a Lexie bot without my knowledge.
Oh, that would, yeah, no, that's going to work out differently for you than it does for me.
I know.
I have had the privilege of looking at some of Lexie's DMs on occasion, and wow, they're wild.
I blocked 2 people today.
Maybe you need a Lexie bot that can respond to those DMs specifically.
Oh my, actually, funny story. People don't think that on the other side of the screen there is another person. One guy was really mean to me and he said like, oh, you're going to block me? That's going to make me special. To which I answered him with a screenshot of blocked accounts over 1,000. And I said, you're not special, and blocked him.
I like that as a tactic. That's pretty good.
Special.
All right, people of Earth, thank you for coming along with us today. We, once again, are trying to attempt to understand what the advent of our phenomenal AI overlords will mean for us as people. And we ask that if you would like to be a part of this, that you hit subscribe, you hit like, you share, you do all the social things so that our podcast can continue to grow, and we may therefore curry favor for you with our impending AI overlords. Thank you, Lexie, for being on the show. We have really enjoyed it. And thank you, Thanos, for coming to us from Greece in your library. You look really fancy today, Thanos. I didn't mention that.
Yeah, you do look fancy.
Am I not always fancy? Just this time?
Today you have like a library vibe going on, as opposed to like the workshop vibe. because you've got the
Extra
like
fancy.
gloves and whatnot, the Thanos gloves in the workshop.
They're gauntlets, Michael. They're gauntlets. I
Gauntlets,
hope the
my bad.
overlords
I
are
guess
not
it
Marvel
does
fans.
sound weird.
We'll be in trouble.
Weird to say you have gloves all over the place in your workshop. So we're gonna move on. All right.
They're
Thank you, people.
infinity
Reverse.
stones.
Kidney stones. Oh my god. This is devolving. We're done. We're done. 5 phones.
Till next time.